Today I'm at the site of the Bohack warehouse in Bohack Square, which is located in Ridgewood, Queens. Between the years of 1887 to 1977, Bohack was a huge supermarket chain in New York City. But after being a New York institution for 90 years, it finally shut up shop in the summer of '77. Today, I will tell you the story of the H.C. Bohack Company. Henry Christian Bohack was born in Hanover, Germany in 1865. He immigrated to America when he was 17 years old, even though he spoke no English. The penniless Bohack managed to secure a position as a grocery store clerk, earning the princely sum of $7 a month plus board. His board simply consisted of a room at the back of the grocery store, and his hours were long, rising at 5 a.m. daily and working until 10 p.m. every night. Then, on his off day, Sunday, he spent the day cleaning the store. In fact, his first paycheck was used to pay back the friend who paid for his passage to America. 3 years after learning the grocery store trade on the job and from saving his salary, Henry Bohack, at the age of 20, was able to form a partnership with an established grocer and opened his own store in 1885. Within 2 years, he bought out that partner, and the Bohack Empire began in 1877. There are many stories online that say that Henry Bohack married his wife, who was the sister of his former business partner, the day after he opened his first store. However, a 1924 newspaper article details the 35th wedding anniversary party held for the Bohacks in 1924, which would mean that they actually married in 1889, 2 years after he had opened the store. Over the next 13 years, Mr. and Mrs. Bohack owned 5 grocery stores, and at the young age of 35, Henry Bohack decided to retire and move back to Germany. Life had changed for the Bohacks, though. The peace that they so longed for in their homeland left them feeling discontented. As any immigrant will attest, myself included, when you make a new life in a foreign country, it's hard to go back to the way things once were. There is always this uneasy feeling of, do I belong, when you go back to your homeland? Whenever I go back to England on those rare occasions, I always feel like I am totally out of touch, like I am a guest in my own country. The feeling is quite surreal. So soon after, the Bohacks returned to America, where Henry Bohack resumed his management role for his stores. He incorporated his company, and it soon grew into hundreds of grocery stores throughout the New York region. That brings us to where we are in the video. The entire area surrounding me is known as Bohack Square. This is where the main warehouse of Bohack stood, where the chimney is, and it also housed the main corporate offices of Bohack. In fact, we are stood on Metropolitan Avenue, and a couple of miles up the road on Metropolitan is also where Henry Bohack and his wife are buried, in the same cemetery as the General Slocum Memorial and the parents of Donald Trump. Between the warehouses, all the way up to the railway tracks on Metropolitan Avenue, this was all Bohack operations. In fact, it would be safe to say that the employees of Bohack had everything that they needed. There was a train station directly in the Bohack property, that transported employees to the factories. And it wasn't just grocery stores that Henry Bohack owned. He also went into business with gas stations and restaurants. Right here on this very corner, in fact, where the bank now stands. This used to be a Bohack gas station, as seen in this image. The smaller building here used to be a Bohack grocery store and restaurant, and in fact you can still see the Bohack symbol engraved in the side of the building. So imagine working for a company, owning stock in that company, having a train station, a gas station, a grocery store and a restaurant all located on the premises, more than likely discounted for employees. You could hardly need more at the turn of the 20th century. Unfortunately, like many businesses during the Great Depression, the gas stations and restaurants of the Bohack Empire did not survive. But the grocery stores did manage to continue during this time. Henry Bohack himself did not survive the Great Depression, though. He died of a heart attack at his home in Kew Gardens one morning at the age of 66. His wife Emma and his nephews took control of the business and what was by now over 700 grocery stores. Emma lived until she was 91 and is likewise buried in the family crypt along Metropolitan Avenue. The heirs to the Bohack Empire let the company go public in 1965, and after some bad business deals, the company struggled through the recession of the 1970s. What had been a symbol of New York grocery stores quietly faded away at the end of the summer in 1977. In fact, due to the death of Elvis Presley, and the arrest of the son of Sam, David Berkowitz, that same summer, the closing of the Bohack supermarket chain was barely even mentioned in the newspapers. The factories and stores of Bohack were sold to a food equipment supplier, who in turn sold the equipment to other supermarket owners, or stored what they could not sell in the main Bohack warehouse, to be used as parts. So all that is left of Bohack are the memories. The remains of these old buildings that I am walking through are the only physical remains that are left. And as the area is currently under redevelopment, then don't be surprised if none of these buildings are still here 20 years from now. The story of a 17-year-old young man who arrived in America alone, unable to speak the language, who built an empire of grocery stores and became a multi-millionaire. The American dream lived for one German immigrant and his equally young wife.